Дым от сигарет кружится, как тезис в споре. Тонкий английский лед, под ним кипящее море. Рюмка на полпальца, где-то усталая печень. Но он опять рвется в зал, как будто последняя встреча. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал. И не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Где-то в Багдаде жара тонет в сарказме и прозе. Он пишет, как режет ножом, по мифам на белой бумаге. В студиях, в старых барах, в маленьких залах кампусов он ставит под роспись богов и веру сдает под авансом. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал. И не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Тело слабеет, голос сипит, но шутка выходит точнее. Он поднимает стакан и говорит: поверим, кого соберет скорее. Публика держит дыхание, он не дает ей надежд, только упрямая да к сомнению и пути. И следуй смерть, честное но разума обжигает, но будет спящий каждое слово, как выстрел в зал. И не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал.
Well, what do you know? We made it. Uncle Dave here had a lot of problems, but he's got it settled right now.
Uncle Dave didn't have a bit of a problem.
Okay.
But I didn't do anything different, and for 15 minutes, he was unable to connect.
I was online. I don't know about you, but I was set.
You weren't. You weren't at all.
Everybody
Like,
saw that Hitchens was on, and we were good.
Yeah, after 15 minutes, you
okay.
what you were doing.
It's that old.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm working. I know you're not supposed to use this word. The president used it. I'm going to use it. It's almost as bad as the N word, but I'm working with a retard. Okay. And I know that's not a word to use, but there's nothing else to say that.
Okay.
He does this. We do the same things every week, and every week there's something on his end.
Well, I do understand Dave's anger, and let's. I didn't expect to have to announce this, but as you know, my recording have been doing very, very well all over the world, actually, of late. And I was going to have Dave be my roadie. He was going to actually carry my amps for me as I moved from city to city to play the music. You know, you need to have somebody to carry the amplifier, so I was going to pay Dave like $50 a day, and he accepted, but he hurt his back lifting my Yamaha amp, so I guess he's not going to be working. He's ungrateful, folks. That's what he is. He's ungrateful.
I guarantee you, Brian, that if I ever go deaf, I will be your roadie.
Okay.
But that would be the only time. Because if you've listened to Brian's music, you would understand what I'm saying.
All right. All right. Listen.
Oh, now he's tired. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm tired. You guys too busy
All you had to do
listening to
all
your
you had to do was
bullshit.
all you had to do was flip one right switch.
All right. Listen. Let's get to. Actually, there are 2 points tonight. Dave and I were briefly discussing this thing going on with Trump and NATO, and how Trump's going to place tariffs on NATO, and the NATO European countries are doing some kind of strange thing. They actually want to negotiate with Trump on this. Why even negotiate about Greenland? Just go against him, go against us, and say, okay, you tariff us, we'll tariff you, and play that game, because maybe he'll realize you aren't going to back down, but for some reason people aren't backing down. So we're going to get to that, but I do want to discuss with Dave. Now this is kind of tailing off on what we did, or picking up on what we did last week,
Okay.
and that was the Renee Good murder. But I want to think in a different light, and that is that now that, if you think about it, Trump is going to be sending a federal force there that is 3 times the size of the police force in Minneapolis or wherever that is.
Yep, that's where
In
we're gonna
Minneapolis.
go.
So he's got more federal police, or the army, or whatever he's going to use, than the actual police, which obviously aren't necessary. And the fact that they can shoot somebody without trial means that they are doing public execution. So for anybody who wants to have a protest, it's essentially a public execution. And that's what we saw with Renee Good. And that means that any of us could suffer the same fate. Because remember, Renee Good did not run over that agent, but she was shot 3 times by a person who's obviously not a professional. And when you have people who aren't professional, this is what happens. And when you have a fascistic totalitarian state, which has effectively made let's just say MAGA, believe all the lies. And they can't tell the difference between the truth and the lie. It's kind of like AI and the actual video. They don't know the difference. And as long as you have that, they've achieved it. So we are in a situation now that something has to be done quickly. And we've waited for years for Chuck Schumer and the likes. In fact, I think that Nancy Pelosi's done more than Chuck Schumer. And Jeffries, really nothing. I don't know. But right now, Dave, it seems like we're in a situation where we're not moving fast enough, because we keep saying, well, we're going to wait till, we're going to win in the midterms. But what about now? So, Dave, you want to add to that?
Yeah, a couple things.
Okay.
Let's see. We're at civil war. End of story, end of tale. You can disguise it, try to sugarcoat it, not sugarcoat it, doesn't matter. You don't have to put on uniforms to be in civil war.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do believe that. And it's not true. Every person if you watch this show, any person who's MAGA is your enemy. You might not see it that way, but they see it that way.
They see it that way, exactly.
And it doesn't matter because A, they're not based in reality. B, they're worshiping, if they're Christian, they're actually worshiping the golden ass calf rather than the God they think Trump is. Now, you said, Brian, a couple things. We can't act. We're somewhat powerless in this sense. They have control of everything.
In fact, including what seems to be the truth, and it's not the truth.
Well, that's just it. I mean, they're not going to believe, and it's just so interesting. Like, I've just bounced everybody, if I even think they can spell MAGA, off my page, just because I'm done with them. I mean, there's just I was never there to save them. I was actually watching them, listening to them, and I just realized there's no use to even do that. We will have to do one of 2 things. They will have to get killed in the war, or, which we hope doesn't happen, or we're just going to have to outvote them, and that presupposes we're going to have an election.
Right. Or if a fair election, or an election that will be, certified after it's done. I mean, there's so many different ways they can pull this shit.
Now, okay, there is,
and they will. I mean, they absolutely will.
No. There is not a saving grace, but Trump is actually insane.
Yes,
Clinically, definition.
absolutely.
It could be syphilis of the brain. It could be dementia. It could be idiocy. But he is clinically unable to function. He's also dying. The question is how quickly. Now, one of the things about Trump is he's never been smart. He's ignorant. Not only is he stupid, but he's ignorant, but he is
Right.
a great con man. What makes him such a good con man is he has no morality at all. He's not amoral. He's not immoral. It's what is in it for me. He's 100% 24/7, 365 transaction. Now, you asked the question, which I think is an excellent question. Why are Europeans, why are some of the
Yeah,
Europeans?
why negotiate with the guy?
Okay, here's what it is, I think. Look, if anybody would take a Nobel Peace Prize that wasn't theirs and actually think somehow,
Oh, you got your shit down today, fella. There you go, folks.
yes, Mr. Trump, go ahead. I'm doing the show. Mr. Trump, I do. You know I do the show from 8, and we had a problem with Brian. I know you don't like him, but it's okay. And what's up, Mr. Trump? Tell me. No, Mr. Trump, no. Listen. No, you can't attack. There's no reason to attack Brian. All right? He doesn't like you, and that's fine. But anyway, Mr. Trump, I have one message for you.
Sounds like something you can
Go
hear at a
away.
burlesque show or something. It's like the Marx Brothers' first burlesque show. All right, who was that anyway?
I can't. Mr. Trump. I just
Mr.
told you it's
Spam?
President Trump.
Yeah.
No, it's President Trump. So anyway, back to where we were before we got so rudely interrupted by Mr. Trump. Okay. So what I think the countries are saying, look, if we give him a shiny piece of metal, he'll do what we
Right.
want. So I think that's why
Everybody does the same thing now. Try to appease this guy. We're all Lord Chamberlain or we're Neville Chamberlain.
There's a
Jesus.
difference. Yeah, there is a difference, though, Brian. I think in this, Chamberlain was making a definite effort, wrong though it was, to appease with logic, okay, and rationale. That's basically, and it was proven wrong. He did it. Now, the countries of Europe who were on our side and no longer are not appeasing with intellect. They're appeasing a 3-year-old child who shits himself. That's really what they're doing. And so,
And the 3-year-old children who vote for him too. Let's not. They're wired in for that shit. So
Oh, yeah.
let's not forget
But-
that.
I know. But what I'm saying, Brian, is at the same time,
And that 3-year-old child has the ability to push that button too.
well, he's
You
always
don't.
had that. I mean, he's always had that. But what I think is, at the same time, they're also sending troops to Greenland. So it's a double message. I think what they would hope to do. Now think about this. If you're sane, and you really do believe, which he is, Trump is insane, you just brought it up. He can push the button at any time.
Right. And if he knows he has a terminal disease, he might do it. Because I think the only reason he doesn't push the button is because he's alive. He's afraid to kill himself. He's not afraid to kill you or me, but he's
Oh no,
certainly
no, you're right.
We mean nothing
Yeah.
to him.
Well, no one does. I mean, that's
Right.
so. I mean, I'm not dismissing your argument or your question is out of hand. What I'm saying is, I think what Europe is doing is just looking and say, what the hell happened? Now, think about this. Who's in better shape right now? NATO without us, or us without NATO? We're going to stand alone. We're going to stand alone. Russia's not going to come to our aid. China is not going to come to
Yeah,
our aid.
and who would
North
want to
Korea-
fight for our own country? If we're a stranger in our own land, why would we want to fight for them?
Well, you wouldn't. You would have a tremendous resistance.
I'm saying the armed forces when I say them.
Oh, I know. But everything's going to be divided. So I understand trying every effort to not start World War III. That part I've got internationally. Nationally, I don't. I don't get why Donald Trump has declared war on the American people. It's just that simple. There's no other way around it. And it right now, it's bad enough. Also, Brian, though, if he tries to send the military, that's another step. People say, this bridge, you cross that bridge. I'm going to put a lot of faith in somebody. I only know the two ranking legislative aides, and I don't know him. Dan Brown is from a Republican, and he's the one who came out this weekend and said, if Trump goes to Greenland, we will impeach. That's what he said.
Yeah, question, but who is we? That's what I want to know. Who's
the House. We? The House. He believes, and he's wired in. He's there. He's saying that's a step we will not take with the president. Now, again, I'm not, but I'm saying at least somebody's saying that.
At least somebody's saying it. Okay, I give you that.
Yeah, and that hasn't been said before. Okay, so that's something new. Now, as far as Schumer and Jeffries are concerned, I put them and Joe Biden all in the same boat in this respect. They're trying to run the way it used to run. It would be like, remember when they used leeches to save people? They're using political leeches in a sense, because this is a new age. This is not your grandmother's, maybe even your daddy's government. This is something we've never seen before. This is 2 days short. All we need, really, Brian, all we need to be almost carbon copy of Nazi Germany is full-time. Right now we have part-time concentration camps or full-time concentration camps.
But they're popping up all over, Dave. That's the thing. We don't even have the numbers right now.
Oh, well, well, but you see also, and again, I'm not being, it's not going to be done without some, without resistance. There's just no way. Now, will that resistance win? I don't know. Let's look at some of the things that have been happening recently. People are going, remember when the environmentalists would chain themselves to the bulldozers? People are going out to these sites where they're here, it's going to be developed, and they're there. Yeah, Sandy, that's a kind of an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know that many people, foreign people that I talk to, but the few that I have, they've moved beyond what about America? We hate America with Donald Trump in command. They really do. You talk to your friends up in Canada. Mm-hmm. I talk to people I know in France. I've talked to a couple of people I know in Denmark. Talked to a couple of people I know in Sweden, and they are angry. They are more angry than some Americans who, how an American can sit this one out. That's what I don't get. I get, okay, you're a Trumper, you're an asshole, you're an idiot, you're whatever. But I don't get a person who says, this doesn't affect me. Well, what the hell, as you pointed out, Brian, anybody who goes outside today, okay, risks being killed.
Yes.
By Trump's troops. Anyone who stays in their house today risks being killed by Trump's troops. That's what a war is. There's no safe place to go. There's no safe place to go. That being said, I would urge that everybody do resist as much as they can. There's as much chance of you getting shot and killed driving down the street as there is being in the lead of the protest. It doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
And at least, I'm not cavalier about that. I don't mean, go. But also, every American killed should bring a few more Americans to understand that Trump is a bad dude. Now, I don't know if you've been following this week. Some of the big stuff is, I think the powers that be really realize that Trump is not going to make it physically, or he's going to get 25th Amendment, or he's going to get. Of course, see, the thing is, impeachment doesn't mean anything. You have to get the conviction from the Senate. You could impeach 100,000 times, and that's not removal. And since Trump doesn't deal with shame,
right, he's not going to care.
Well, he doesn't care. He takes it as but people that know things that you're saying, they're moving into J.D. Vance's orbit, so they know that Trump's days are done in some way. Right? They know better than we do because we're not there. Okay. Now, again, something it seems minor, but that may turn out to be major, is what happened at the Ford factory, right? Where just a line worker hollers out, pedophile protector. Now, he didn't say anything other than that, 2 words. And Trump knew who he was addressed to, of course, obviously.
Right.
Trump knows that he is a pedophile because he is.
And he protects pedophiles.
And he protects it. So that was directed at him. And his response was 2 fuck yous and a finger. Now, you can say, that's not presidential. It's not that. What that was directed to was a worker. And unions who did back Trump to a certain extent, many of them, are now saying, oh, no. And see, we don't know, Brian, one of the things we don't know about history, we'll know it someday, is what the key moments were. Like some of the key moments, I honestly thought, I really believe this, I've told it before, I'll tell it again forever. I was wrong 17 times when Trump ran the first time. When I said, he's done. But the one that amazed me that he came back from was grab her by the pussy. That just astounded me.
Yes.
And once that came in.
Well, look what happened with Gary Hart, and then look at what happened with Trump, and completely different outcomes.
But there you are. Gary Hart was the Biden era, and the Schumer era, and the Barry Goldwater era. That was when there were some men of honor in government, right? There aren't now on the one side. Now you hear that, we all get our hopes up. Like, somebody says, well, if they do one more thing, I'm going to out every Republican who's had an affair through the homosexual grinder, right? Which is, kind of I don't know, whatever, dating for gay men here. And of course, they list name and that name. But I think, Brian, the worst thing right now is it's just so much. It's just so much. It's really hard to isolate, and get your wits about you. You've seen all these stories about people saying, I just can't function. And we have friends like that. I'm sure you do. I think you even live with one. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Right.
For anybody who doesn't know, Brian's wife, she is one of the most empathetic people on the planet, I believe. And so she really does take all of this to heart, not for herself, but for others. I have a friend down here like that. It's literally like stabbing her in the heart with some of this stuff, because that's where her, functions lie. So, we have a couple big, protests coming up. January 20th, the walkout. I think too, and I don't know what, and I'll ask you, Brian, that's interesting. And anybody who's listening, please give us some thoughts too. What would stop Trump? Okay, forget death, forget, what could actually, what do you think he would get to say, well, I can't do this anymore. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, at a fundamental level, there's got to be something that has some type of leverage over him. And that could be if somebody really could expose him with the pedophilia. If there's something else out there that we don't know about, maybe they'll find that something in the Steele dossier is correct that they said was bullshit. I don't know. But there has to be somebody who has leverage on him. Michael Cohen was not enough. But there has to be somebody
Michael
else.
Cohen, you saw what happened to Michael, right?
No, I don't. Tell me, because I was wondering about him recently.
Okay, so Michael Cohen was a professional son of a bitch at one point. He was Trump's man. He was as evil in his own way as Stephen Miller, right? In his function, he was a mob consigliere. That's really what he was to Trump. And then, of course, there was a falling out and all this. And then Michael has come to Jesus moment after he goes to prison. And now he's back defending Trump from the Epstein files. Now,
that's interesting.
We know. So and there are people who say, but it seems that the reason he's doing that is his name's in the file too. He knew, and he'd have to know, because every payment that Trump made, and we know he made payments, that we do know. We don't know what for, but if they're to a 12-year-old boy, you gotta assume that you know, Cohen knew. He knew. And like Sandy says here, why did, Midas Touch ever had him on? That's very simple. They're in a ratings war in a nice way. They are our voice. They really are. When they beat, it's a great thing, when they beat Joe Rogan, when they beat Fox News' numbers, I'm sure Rudolph Murdoch, has a dartboard with the father and brothers up there throwing darts at it.
And there
So
are
I
some people who
understand.
do have a change where they have a change of heart
Yeah,
because they
and,
want
and,
to.
and I think
know.
you give everybody, he was helpful for a while, and now he's not. It's the
And he
same
could have been
way,
knocked off too, by
Yeah.
Trump in some
Well,
way, because there are enough Proud Boys that would have done it.
what I really do think is that whatever's in, whatever's in the Epstein files is pretty damaging to a bunch of people. And I mean, but see, here's another problem. It's a timing problem. If they produce pictures in the 1990s of Trump having anal sex with an 8-year-old boy, there's a very limited chance that that is a fake photo. They weren't able to do those to the quality they can today. All right. So, but because the ignorant, and they kind of go together, ignorant, MAGA, ignorant, because they're aware of it, they will still say it's fake. And so that leads me to believe, like I said, that there is something in there, but whether that's enough to stop me and whether anybody can get it out. A couple congressmen still, as Marjorie Taylor Greene did, who's no longer there, but said we'll read it on the House floor. Well, we haven't seen them do it yet. And of course, what's interesting, Brian, too, I think is so fascinating, at least to me, and fascinating is not the right, well, yes, it is, it's still fascinating. Trump takes everything pretty much I hold dear and reverses it around. I believe that names should be protected. Victims' names should be protected. I do believe that, right? But the women are saying, we don't want our names protected. We want the guilty to pay their punishment. So Trump takes everything he touches and can pervert it into something else. Now, another thing this week, too, there's just, again, a reminder, I don't really want to be your nagging grandpa, but one of the things we're finding is more and more and more of the stuff out there that's on our side is also fake. So please, everyone, just watch. Just watch what you post. Not because you're in any trouble for posting it, but I wanted so much to post the thing from the meeting that he had with the oil executives. And I don't know if you saw the quotes that were coming out. He farted 12 times and stunk so badly that this, and he got up and went to the window 3 times. I wanted so much for that to be true, and it wasn't. And there's just a lot of stuff out there that isn't. So pretty much, again, since I try to be a person of truth whenever I can, I'm just running everything through Snopes or AI or something, and 9 times out of 10, it's being rejected. So, and I don't think we need that at this point. Well, let me ask you point blank, Brian. If tomorrow you were off, and you are, and if tomorrow there was a rally in Bridgeton, which there isn't, which is your closest city, would you go?
I would not be intimidated at all. I would probably go, yes.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Once they intimidate you or silence you, then they're done. And I'm not, I understand it's different with every person, okay? Some people just can't go out and do it. Some people, their concern is their children. And, it's kind of hard when, my argument would be, well, your children will have no democracy, right? If you don't do what you can to stop
And by the
it.
way, if you had been in Bridgeton, I think that some of these people and knew would have been in ICE, and you'd have to actually worry about these people being armed. The very ones that you argue with, or that I argue with, they're a danger to you now because now they have a license to kill,
Well,
to
everybody's
execute.
a
I want to call it
then
public
you see-
executions.
You've got all this stuff going. Now, there was a report, which apparently is true. Now, think about this. Because they got this rush of people coming in, and Miller wants to have, 3,000 or 4,000 arrests a day. That's his goal. So they rushed these, anybody showed up for I want to be Iceman, and an AI did it and completely messed it up. So there's people that even don't meet the qualifications for ICE that don't even exist. They're so bad. Now, Sandy, that's something that, again, that is important, certainly.
And by the way, Dave, what a time for all these senators to come out and the power of AI while Trump is president. So, like, this guy's got a shamrock. He was born with it up his ass.
No, well, yeah. But again,
and he's evil. And he's crazy, like you said. We don't know the exact affliction, but he's nuts.
No. But the thing is, yeah, everything was laid out. But we've been headed down this road a long time. I mean, we got to Trump. MAGA was in place before Trump. Trump just brought him out. The GOP was doing this, with Newt Gingrich back then, with Reagan back then. You can go all the way back. Actually, you can go all the way back to FDR. And it kind of started there. And Kim, Kentucky, yes. Same here in Virginia, but which Virginia has, pretty much now gone blue. But again, it's not as solid as I would like to see it in Virginia. And, the other state I follow.
Especially with Trump in power, you just don't know what they're going to do.
The good thing is, in New Jersey and in Virginia, the two states I follow most closely, one was my former home and one is my home now, Democrats are firmly in charge. So that is good. Okay. Now, Brian, you've brought this up. We've talked about it before. One of the things that is not beyond the realm of possibility is blue states doing what they call a soft succession. Mm-hmm. Are you aware of that term? Have you heard that term?
Yeah, but I understand it.
Yeah, it's what they're saying is basically they would say, we are not giving you a cent to the federal government.
Right, and that would put them out because that's 80% of the income.
Yeah, and you start talking about California, you start talking about
they can't afford. So there's where they would. I think they would start arresting the governors.
I don't think there's any question about that. Then you have to ask yourself. I mean, not you, but I'm saying people out there. Which is more important? The governor of my state where I live, or the president of the United States? And you'd have to ask yourself that. And I'm surprised there are still people who believe, which is one of the dumbest beliefs of all time, that the office of the presidency automatically deserves respect. That's such bullshit. It was always bullshit and it will always be bullshit.
Right.
The only two people who really on planet Earth who are authority figures who kind of deserve your respect would be your mother and father, unless they're abusive. What I'm saying is everybody else, your boss, no. I mean, they just don't. It's not, oh my God, I gotta, and of course you can talk about relationships, but that's an all different story. But I'm just talking in general. Authority figures, if you look at them, there's a psychologist I was reading some of the stuff from, his political psychologist, which is kind of interesting. And he said something that's really frightening. He said the psych profile of a normal politician is such that they should be the last person in charge of anything. Okay, you begin thinking, introverts don't go into politics, right? Quiet people don't go into politics, right? People who are not in some way able to have money or get money don't go into, so it really is this idea. Now, Trump is the extreme version of that. Like I said, I'm usually not speechless, but sometimes I get that way with this. He has not one scintilla of a positive human trait in his body. Not one. Now, people go, what about Adolf? I don't know Adolf Hitler. What about I don't know Charles Manson. I do know Donald Trump. And I've never seen anything like that. And it will continue and continue. But as I say, these little things that are happening, the fact that he made him give the finger to a worker. How do you come back and say, I'm the president of the working
Right.
class. Again, a lot of these people, it would be interesting to bring MAGA down to DC. When I walk by those giant posters of his, or I walk by and see his name, and it's displayed all over the city, or when he builds, if he's around, I hope he's not, when he builds his 250 Heroes Court for the 250th, I don't know if you're aware he's doing that. He's grabbed the land that he's going to do it with. When he has a UFC championship bout on the White House grounds, when the Kennedy Center has nobody show up but Kid Rock to perform, and it's getting close to that.
Yeah, he's a real winner too, Kid Rock.
Well, anybody. I don't care if my dad was for Trump. If you're for Trump, you're bad. That's all. You're a bad person. Sorry. I don't have to berate you or hit you with the Bible you claim to believe in. But you're just
When this is all over, if it ever is, they'll be like the Nazis, the German populists who said we didn't know.
Well, there is an interesting fact about that, I think. You could conceivably live in Germany and not know. I know that sounds absurd, but you can't live in America today and not know, because it's surrounding you with news and remember, Germany controlled everything. Trump's getting there. This was disturbing.
Yeah, he doesn't have the complete press right now, but that's really one of the less. He's close.
Here's the thing. Okay, let's just look at that. That's something I follow because being an ex-journalist. Okay, so what does the people has? Okay, well, Donald Trump has his own social media, Truth Social. I don't imagine you spend too much time on there. I spend a bit, and it's like you want to throw up. You feel unclean reading it. Elon Musk, who is just about as bad as Trump in a different way, has Twitter, now X, and Jeff Bezos has the Washington Post, and Mark Zuckerberg has Facebook, and CBS News is no better than Fox News now, not a bit better, okay? But I don't know at this point, Brian, how much that matters. I think people have drawn their lines. I mean, I don't think the news is going to influence too many other people. It's going to be the event. Like, if you relate to Ms. Good, maybe that will either get you, if you're neutral, out of neutral, or if you're on Trump's side, maybe.
And by the way, can we add that, when this son of a bitch shot her, he almost shot one of his own, too.
Well,
that's how unprofessional he was.
Oh, they have shot. They fell down and almost shot one. I mean, they walk off. Look, I know I'm not a gun expert, but my father, my whole family, they knew how to handle guns, and so my dad wanted me to be able to handle one. I did, and I just wasn't impressed with it and didn't like it. But one of the things you learn, you never do. This is just the number one rule of guns: do not take the safety off unless you're intending to use it. Well, on at least two occasions, with ice guy had fallen down and his gun went off.
Yeah.
So I mean, now fortunately I didn't shoot him in the crotch, which would have been nice. Of course, he may be dickless to begin with.
And one went flying in the air, so much so that there was definitely air under his entire body. And yeah, I usually don't. Again, I would not laugh at people like that, but he deserved it.
Oh no! I mean,
he was flying, folks.
Well,
he was supine, and he was just in the air.
Well, see, and again, there's that argument that comes up. How do you fight them? Because how many times, billion times, have you and I or other people have discussed? Well, Michelle was, was nice, and at one point that was nice. It almost sounded reasonable. When they go low, we go high. Not in this one. Not in this one. What you have to figure out is, what is the ultimate bottom low you would go? I have mine. I would not kill Donald Trump personally.
No, I would not do that. I think that's not the way to go.
No, I wouldn't do it. But I would not stop someone else from doing it if I had the ability to do it. That's on them. I mean, so that's, again, the other thing that I tell people when they're worried about going low, I said, Trump's bottom is so low, you can just be a little bit high. You're going to be above him anyway.
Right.
So
I think it gets back to leverage. I mean, you have to have leverage, and whatever it is that is that leverage, and you don't want to use violence, but you do
Right.
want to have leverage, and somebody's got to be really smart about this. And I think it can be done in a certain way, but you have to. You know this, Dave, from how you held administrators people who are above you. If you could hold them responsible, you could wield some power against them.
Yeah, well, the problem was, of course, again, and that's a great analogy, okay? Because really what we're talking about is the same thing played out, wherever you are. It's your boss, it's your, it's administrators, it's the school. I mean, it's just played out on this big national scale. And Donald Trump has done this on more than one occasion. I'm not responsible for that. It's not, I'm not responsible. Yes, you are, but anyway, I think one of the problems right now is name the group that's running the ship for the protests.
Name the group that's running the ship.
In other words,
What?
who's running the protest against Trump?
The group of people who are running.
Yeah. You want to know why you're freezing? There is not one. There is not one. There's not a central place that you can go.
And maybe that's
But
for the
in-
best. Because it's like
in some-
guerrilla, that way they can't
in
like
some ways,
point
but
the finger.
it can also lead to failure. Like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But I think in this case it's best to spread out.
Well, normally I say that, but in this case,
Right.
I'm a little.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who am I to
No,
say? I don't know
no,
shit.
you're not wrong. I'm just saying for some things you need to do it locally. All right. But I'm saying if they want a national walkout, you have to have that called by an organization that has enough oomph to tell other organizations to do it.
Right.
Planned Parenthood, NAACP, ACLU, all these groups. And I mean, they're fighting. It's not that they're not fighting it. And in your city, you've got a battle going.
And by the way, they mentioned it. Somebody within the Bridgeton local government said, the report was not true that ICE was here. I don't know. I saw the pictures. I don't know if the
ICE
pictures.
is there.
I would think if anybody place is going to have ICE, it's going to be Bridgeton because we're considered Little Mexico.
I was surprised it took so long for them to get there. I really was. But they're there. And I understand that it is difficult. But what you're finding out is what DC found out, which is Mayor Bowser decided to try some appeasement, knowing that like 80% of DC's budget comes from the federal government and complete control. And it didn't work for her. And she's now viewed as a complete turncoat because she she just tore up Black Lives Matter Plaza, and that meant something to the people here in DC, the Black community. Bridgeton, the mayor's Black. I've known him for centuries now. He may be thinking, I'm not inside his head and I don't talk to him, it's a similar situation. We get so much of a federal, they'll shut us down. There may be that ICE outnumbers and outguns the police department. But I still think you need to make a statement. Because if you don't, you're letting your city down, whether it's Washington, D.C. or Bridgeton, New Jersey. How strong that statement is, I don't know. And reading in between the lines, I found a little interesting. It seems like there's some racial issues in Bridgeton too, where Black people that I know that are in black government are rallying to kind of protect the mayor and claiming that white Suburbans are the ones leading the battle. It's just no. You're either for Trump or you're against him.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Look, he doesn't care one iota about working with you, or you can't transact with him. He'll put. I almost hope. Well, no, I don't. I would say I almost hope he does put tariffs on all those countries. That again, that's a very.
I don't
bad
think he
move.
will because he knows that
I don't know.
it's
Brian, I
going
don't know.
to make the economy go for shit.
I don't think he does. I think he really believes this. I think he believes, which of course never worked and antiquated. Here's what happens. I think he really believes that tariffs bring money into the government.
Well, they do, but it's
But
not
it goes out of your pocket money.
right. We're paying for it, right?
Right.
And that goes to ICE, so I'm paying ICE's fucking
Now,
salaries.
think think about this. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars being reported that is missing in Washington, D.C. Well, who do you think has that?
Yeah, who's the comptroller? It's
I wonder who has that money, and that would be Donald Trump. There's actually money from Venezuela being deposited in offshore accounts controlled by Qatar. Think about that for a moment. Money illegally taken from a country and deposited in accounts that are your sworn enemy, but now are no longer your enemy because they gave you a plane which will cost billions of dollars to get up in the air. Nuts. The man is just increasingly crazy. But it gets back to your question, Brian, and I think that's the one that everybody has. What do we do? And I think at this point, the we becomes something different. What can I do? Meaning each of us can only do what we can do within the parameters that we can do it. And I'm not trying to be,
and number one is just never give in to the lies, and
No,
never
and know the
capitulate.
truth. Yes, I think that's a great start. Know what the truth is,
Right.
and that's a big one. I would like to believe that the fact that I dropped people from my circle who was never really close to me, but some of them go back. Let's see, Mike and I started what? We were 8 years old. So what am I? 70, whatever that is. It's a lot of years, right? Just go fuck yourself.
See you, Sandy. Sandy has
See
to
you,
go to
Sandy.
bed. Good night. Thank you, Sandy, for showing up.
As long, Sandy, as you're not dying, it's a good night. Though. Let your iPad go and phone. Just don't want anything bad to happen to you because you do really good work. So, and again, each city's a little bit. I mean, what you do in Bridgeton is different than what I would do here. But again,
I think as a teacher, Dave, I think without getting into politics, I think the kids have to know that they can trust me and that I'm the kind of person that's on their side. I mean, that
Brian,
is so important.
But Brian, that was important every time. I'm not cutting you off. I mean,
No, I understand they have to think that you
No,
care,
that's
but
part-
but there are a lot of teachers who. Well, I don't say. Look, don't me say
No,
that.
there are
But
a lot
there are
of
people who
teachers who
people
don't care.
think the kids are behind them. I mean, the teachers are behind them, but in reality, they're Trumpers and.
No. It's not, and it's not just that. They were never behind him anyway. I mean,
Yeah, but they'll say they love them like their own child,
they
and all that shit.
bullshit.
Of
You
course.
can tell that. I mean, I worked a lot with this, and that's and then you get into well, not all teachers are bad. Well, no, they're not. Okay, but there are a lot of people who go into careers who do not have the personality to succeed in that career, and one of those big ones are teachers. Now, here's my take on teachers, and I was one for 20 years in high school and 5 years in college, and it was worked as a consultant and a national consultant. So I think I do know a little bit about it. 34 years in education, and here's the normal profile of a teacher. You go to school, right, and you do pretty well in school. Not not A plus, but you're up there. School comes relatively easy to you. Then you go right away to college, and you go in and you do okay. You get more than a gentleman's C, and you come out, and they've trained you to do absolutely nothing because teacher training is worthless. And they throw you into a job, and the job could be, I mean, think about this, Brian. The job in every school district in America is different. There's no national norms.
Mm-hmm.
There are some state norms, but even they vary. And then you get thrown into that, and you get thrown with kids who either are much younger than you and of a different generation, or are of a different ethnic mix, or really struggle with learning. I don't know what it's like. Bridget, I haven't seen the statistics for a while, but in last statistics I saw in Washington, D.C., if you exempted the magnet schools, 6% of the kids are reading on grade level.
I think in Bridgeton, I was told that it's around 10%. I don't know any real facts, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, and so, and then you get into,
By the way, my Russian students are reading at a first and second degree level, which is pretty good considering it's not English, it's Russian. So
yeah.
So if it's at a sixth grade level of English,
and about that, I have a theory. Most of my theories are wrong, but I'll express it to you. We haven't really talked about this when we talked about that. You in Russian. I think kids might do better in Russian than they do in English.
You're right. It is.
Yeah. And you know why? I think, and again, it gets to the fact that I think a lot of kids really get insulted about having to take English. It's my language. I know it. That kind of stuff. Where in Russian, everybody comes in a little humble.
Right.
I'd be a little skeptical of somebody who came in and thought, I got this handle.
Right.
You
Until
know,
you see the alphabet.
well, I'm talking about even those with genius IQs.
Right. Right.
It's just not so. So I think there's, one time, this is funny. I haven't thought about this for years. A really radical educator came up with an idea that I thought was kind of interesting. He said, no one should teach a subject that they're an expert in because it frustrates, and you can't get there, But if you, all you need to do is stay a day and a half ahead of the students.
You're
I don't know
right.
if I agree with. I don't know if
Well,
I agree
the
with
thing
that.
is, you can't get too technical anyway in a class. And how many teachers are really experts? And I was a business teacher, but could I run a business? I could run it into the ground. I mean, I wasn't an expert.
Well,
at
that doesn't seem. You could be if you could do that. You could be president because that's what Trump did.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to really. I mean, I can introspectively think, about what is talent and what is the ability to transfer information from this brain to the next brain, and it doesn't really matter. You can have a great class guitarist trying to teach you, and if you can't fucking execute, you're not going to play.
And that's what. But you did say, I think, what is the single most important aspect of being a teacher is the kids have to respect you, and the way that they respect you is they feel not necessarily you're on their side, but you're not against them. That's really
Right.
and
There's a sense of fairness from that human being,
and that's very that's really
They have to see vulnerability from you too. I think that they can see that
yeah.
you have issues that you have to deal with
and one of the things
without
that's
going
very
into them.
like I said, I trained teachers for how many years? 5 with Johns Hopkins and almost 5 down here with the secondary form partners. And one of the things is that there's no way to say, okay, if you do this, you will be a good teacher. What you really need to do is you need to find out your personality, right? If you just be on a show like this, if we were really going for ratings and stuff, you'd have to figure out what you have that will make you stand out or do best. And that's like with teaching. For some, people, when his name, they don't know, but there was a teacher, Brian knows him, who was there, Fred Ushler, and he was so strict, in quotes, that the kids would not even look at the clock while he was in there. Yet invariably, at the end of their school time, they would single him out as one of the 2 or 3 best teachers they had, because he did treat everyone fairly, and he didn't let kids fail. I mean, he'd bring them in after school, and so they saw that.
Yeah, you want to address this here?
What
That
is
seems like
this,
another
stop?
person.
Oh, well, of course. The problem is, and I don't disagree with you at all. I write a lot about that. But here's the problem. Right now, we can't do anything about the serious trouble that happened before. We can do something about Donald Trump. That's number one. And then we can do something to look at the troubles before and try to do better. Now, if you want to take it to a point that government...
Well, we can say that he is definitely different than any president prior.
no,
He's
I'm not-
very, very corrupt.
I think
There are different levels of corruption.
But are we going to renegotiate? I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm just saying we can't renegotiate slavery. We can't renegotiate the killing of indigenous people. We can't redo the damage that was done to gay men and women. We can't undo the equality between men and women. But if we get rid of Trump before he destroys democracy, we have no chance to do it. I would hope that we can bring it back better. Let's see, what Brian Taylor uploaded CBS gets exposed for carrying water for killer ice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's well, they're the ones. Now, I mean, think about that. That's a good way to end.
Well, he carried water for Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin.
I know.
Not CBS, of course, but the
Think about
police.
this. We're seeing all these comparisons to Orwell's 1984, and they're there. I don't mean they shouldn't be, but it's there. But one of the famous things from there is don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear. We will kind of tell you, and that's where they are now. Now, I don't know much about being run over by a car. That's never happened to me, or being hit by a car. Never happened to me. But I do kind of know that if I had thought I was hit by a car, and then I killed someone firing 3 shots, I would not run away, which he did, okay? not leave the scene. And then I would not go to my house, which he did, and move his family for safety, which he did. And then 4 days later, come back and say that he was bleeding internally. And every medical person who has any reputation at all said that is absolutely impossible. And yet you have the president of the official spokeswoman for the president of the United States saying it's true. And the MAGA people will believe it. And that may be something else, too. Back to, what was it, Leeds, whatever, was making the comment before. We all know the country is in serious trouble. It's been going on that way before Trump. Again, I have no argument with you on that. What I do think is a little bit different now is the instantaneous way and the insidious way that social media has crept into our lives. That never happened before.
And also the control that one man, I think there's a difference in the amount of control that the president has. When you control the military, in the sense that you've got a lot of people in the military leaving, and you don't want them to leave, but they're leaving because they know something's wrong.
We don't want them to leave. He wants them to leave.
Right. Well, some of them have left there, because I know you've said that you do know that a lot of the military are. This is goes a year or two back, but you said you were talking to some military people, but a lot of people have left, and I don't think that I would have that confidence now.
Well, actually, Trump is shaking everybody's confidence. Let's see. I got hit by a truck. Let's see what Jeff has said. I didn't take a shot at him, but it was my cousin. I'm glad you didn't shoot at him. I guess that would make for a bad Thanksgiving family dinner. But can you? And then just the point of logic to me. Okay, let's say for a minute, one of two things happened. Either she did hit him, or he imagined it, right? Or apparently he was involved in some kind of thing before where he was hit by a car, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so you flip. You shoot her once, but he shot her 3 times.
Right.
And then said, "You fucking bitch."
Right.
And that wording, I think, is so crucial. And nobody has denied that wording. Hey, I'm not mad at you, dude. You fucking bitch. You put those two together, and that motherfucker's just a bad-ass dude who deserves the death penalty if we had it. And I don't usually put out the death penalty.
And you know what? I think this is where it would be nice for people who went to high school with him and elementary school to maybe explain some things that happened in his life. See, look, the guy's not going to be prosecuted as long as Trump's president. But in terms of the public, we can have a public trial for him in a certain sense. That this is, you may be able to get away with it, in terms of not going to prison, but you won't get away with it for the populace.
And that's something that I don't like that Trump has done to me. I was very much, prior to Trump, a person who believed that everybody should be judged just like what you're saying. What kind of childhood did you have? What circumstances did you come with? What was your family? And I don't see that anymore. I don't see that as a reason anymore. There comes a point when you have to grow out of that. You have to. And it's not asking much. It's just asking to look and see that this guy is evil. We're not saying you are. We're saying you are if you stay with this guy, right? So it's not like, asking Trump to change would be impossible. He's not going to change. But other people. And the only good thing I can say about that, and I hope it's the same for everybody out there, I have not lost one person to politics that I cared about.
Good for you.
Other than being an associate or friend or family member or whatever. Nobody who's close to me, not one person. And I hope that...
Which maybe means that at some unconscious level, you kind of, your brain, you knew the friends who are hardwired like yourself.
And that's pretty much true.
And look at us, Dave. We didn't know each other prior to the year 2000, but we don't agree on everything. And if you don't mind me mentioning this, when Dave and I were in a music group today, we gigged a lot. We seemed to get along with other people. Dave and I never had the type of agreement in the exact music we would play, but there's one thing that we had in common is we liked improvisation. And when we were in this group, the first thing that the quote-unquote leader said was that, that we were all going to get choices and a fair choice of what we were going to play, which was fine because nobody had the exact same interests. Mm-hmm. But the thing started breaking apart, and it came to the point It wasn't that Dave and I were specifically trying to be on the same team. We knew, day after day, it was getting closer and closer. Where Dave and I, in a very real and serious sense, knew that it was going to end. And it came to one night where Dave was very, very direct with the person, and we knew we were going to walk up those stairs when you're in somebody else's house and there's a bad argument. It was going to be quiet, and that's what we did. And that was the last time we ever spoke with him. And here's a case where, and essentially, it was like the United States. You had 2 people for, 2 people against, but you knew that I wanted to be friends with the other 2 people, but I couldn't. And Dave and I both realized that was going to be it, and it was it.
And I would guarantee you, because it was actually, Brian's right, and then we would get a different third, there would be a 5-member band a lot of times, but it would be a different third. There was 2. And both of them would be our Trumpers today. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, Dave. I won't mention the names.
I guarantee you.
But it would really hurt me, especially the one person that we knew the best of them all, in terms of not being the best musician or like that. But I'm saying certainly not. But I would hope he isn't.
No, he is.
But
I know that.
Well, I would say this: he would probably, because of his religious background, which I think played some kind of role in how he didn't get along with us. I don't know.
Well, again, I think what you said, and that's so typical of groups. You can have. Okay, let me do it this way. There are some deal breakers in everything. Okay. Have you ever met anyone? I use this as an example. Have you ever met anyone who's neutral about liver? Not the liver that you.
No. It's like yes or no.
You either eat liver or you hate liver.
Right.
And it's almost like if you hate liver, you hate the people that eat liver. It's sort of like a vegetarian thing. And there's some things like that. And in music, I think you either strictly adhere to form, or you want to go outside the form. And it's rare that you find somebody who enjoys doing both. Now, a lot of musicians can, right? But so I think that was part of it. And then that in turn reflects your personality. And I will say this will be my last comment tonight. I do think there is a psychological, there's definitely a spiritual, there's definitely an emotional difference between a person who is a MAGA and a person who is anti-MAGA, a person who's for Trump, and a person who is against Trump. Now, normally, I might back off and say, and I'm not sure which one is right. I know which one is right. And it's not because I'm there. It's just right. And I go through different things. Probably everybody does. One day I get frustrated with MAGA, another day I get angry, another day I get sad, and another day I just think they're pathetic, another day I pity them. But right now, I think from now until we clear this mess up, the other side, led by Donald Trump, the Supreme Court, the GOP-controlled Senate and House, the cabinet, and every Trump appointee is an enemy to America.
Right. And Dave, you alluded to this, and I'll end with this by saying that you kind of alluded to this last week, I guess in a private conversation we'd had, I believe it was you, that we may have to, if it gets to this point, we may just have to drink the hemlock and, accept our fate. Like, the good guys don't always win, but we can go down, and I'm not talking about violence or anything. I'm just saying that. No,
I know what you mean.
Just you can't live a certain way. It's like, give me liberty or give me death. Those kind of things. So
now, I would certainly agree with you. Now, when it gets to, I always say I'll let you close out. But you've just brought up something I just want to say for a moment. So when I was in Eastern Europe, about not even quite a year ago, and it was just a whole different world because we were all looking. There were 17 of us, and we were all looking at, oh my God, this is where America may be headed. Because it was right, when Trump came in. And there was this one story. So there was this group who was able to hold out, small group, 6 people, soldiers who were able to hold out, right, against overwhelming odds. And finally, they captured one. And they kept being hidden. The Nazis couldn't find them, right, because they were moving around, But they were in this church. And the guy, so they captured him. He didn't say anything, he was holding his own. And they said, well, let me go get your mother. and maybe she'll be able to convince you, right? So, you know, I don't know how long a period, you know, it could have been a couple hours, could have been a couple days. They walked in, they rolled the head of his mother out on the table in front of him and said, I think she wants you to tell us, or we're going to go back and do that to every single relative you have and every single person in your village. I might then have to capitulate, which he did. And I don't feel, you know, I mean, there comes a point, you know, when maybe you can, but we're not at that point yet. I think every American can stand up and just say no in whatever way they can.
Yeah, it's very serious. It is serious, and that's I guess that's all I want to say is that it's that serious a situation. This is not a fucking fun situation. So anyway, Dave, thank you, and we'll just do this. We'll probably on Saturday night next week. So everybody just those people are still on.
What I would say about that, if you have some really strong feelings, because we do like to, you know, I mean, you can't make everybody happy all the time. And there's something for another show.
Well, that's only going to get worse now because you have the con men.
And it is you know, in a sense,
winning right now,
related to Trump, although it's not direct with him. But yeah, I would just say if anybody has any real strong feelings about Saturday or Sunday, my feeling is I prefer Sundays, but it doesn't matter to me. And Brian it works better for Brian on Saturdays, and that's fine. But you know, if you have maybe there's something we haven't considered, like Brian falls asleep all the time anyway, so it doesn't matter as you say. All right, man. Go get some rest.
All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And remember, I did want to say this earlier. I don't think people should take the name "Divided We Stand" as a slogan so much now as it is a warning. And
that's a good point, Brian. That's an excellent point to end it on.
Yeah.
And maybe you've given us a topic to begin with next time is
right.
What did we mean when you chose?
And maybe it's after the fact, but maybe we unconsciously knew that it was a warning to everybody.
That would be so we'll talk about that
all right.
next week.
Gotcha. All right, folks.
Brian will try to flip the right switch and not take 17 minutes to get the show on the air.
All right, says Dave. All right.
See you, Brian.